I just gotten off the plane at O'Hare, dragging my luggage through the front door of our condo. The place was empty. Sarah hadn't come to pick me up, and she hadn't even left a note. The living room was clean, sure, but on the coffee table were 2 plates, 2 sets of silverware. It was obvious someone had just finished eating. I dropped my bag and sank onto the couch to catch my breath. My phone buzzed. A notification from Instagram popped up. A new post from Kyle. The picture was of our couch. He had his arms wrapped tight around Sarah from behind, his face buried in her hair, almost touching her shoulder. They were both smiling, looking like a couple in the first blush of a new romance. The caption read, "Sarah's cooking is unreal. Had to thank the chef properly, winky face." My vision tunneled. My thumb, moving on its own, tapped open the comments. Kyle's finally wising up, knows how to treat his sister-in-law right. "Sarah's a saint, Kyle. You're lucky to have her. This is how family should be." There were a dozen likes, a string of familiar names from our relatives scrolling by. I typed a single character in the comment box, question mark. Less than 30 seconds later, my phone was ringing. It was Sarah. "Hey, honey, you saw the post, didn't you?" Her voice was as gentle as ever. "Don't overthink it. It was just Kyle being Kyle. You know how he's been since we were kids. Always so clingy." I stayed silent, letting her explain. "You're away on business, and it gets pretty lonely here by myself. He saw I was making dinner and came over to help out. I had no idea he'd post a picture like that." She sighed softly. "Come on, don't be like this. Just delete the comment, okay?" I grunted an MHM and hung up. I didn't delete the comment. I didn't say a single harsh word, but a fire had started in my gut, a suffocating heat that pressed down on my chest. Kyle, my own brother. He's 25 and has been coasting since he graduated college. My parents, fed up with his lack of ambition, pushed him on me to learn the business. It was a joke. He never touched a single file at the office, spending his days at my place, crashing on my couch, playing video games in my air conditioning. Sarah, with her soft heart, always made excuses. "He's still young," she'd say. "It's so sad thinking of him living alone, ordering takeout all the time. What's the harm in him getting a hot meal here?" I never argued. Back then, I still believed family was about love, not rules. But today, coming home, I saw too many details that didn't add up. There were only 2 sets of dishes in the kitchen, but they'd been used and washed every day I was gone. They were still warm from the dishwasher. A few long, blonde hairs were caught in the fibers of a couch cushion. Not my color. In the bathroom, a damp towel was still dripping onto the mat. 2 toothbrushes sat by the sink, a black one mine and a blue one. I distinctly remember Sarah always using a pink one. I walked slowly into the bedroom. The bed was neatly made, but it didn't smell like us. I opened the trash can. Inside was a used razor cartridge. Kyle just recently started growing some scruff. Did Sarah buy these for him? I closed my eyes, forcing myself to take a deep breath. Before my trip, Sarah had insisted on changing the front door lock. When I asked why the sudden change, she said, "The old one didn't feel secure. I wanted to upgrade to a fingerprint system. I added your print, too, while I was at it." Thinking back on it now, she added my print as an afterthought. Whose was the primary? At 7 p.m., Sarah came home, carrying a few grocery bags. The moment she saw me, she froze. "You're back today?" I managed a small smile, not moving from the couch. "Surprise. I thought you weren't coming back until tomorrow." She quickly recovered. "I got stuff to make your favorite lasagna. I can just heat it up." I watched her unpack the bags, my voice flat. "Did you just make the lasagna today?" Yeah." She wouldn't look at me. "I bought the ingredients this afternoon. The grease on the plates in the dishwasher is still fresh." She hesitated, her face tightening. "I heated up some leftovers for lunch. Kyle stopped by to pick up a package and had a bite." I nodded slowly. "You take such good care of him." She carried the bags into the kitchen. "He's your brother. What's wrong with looking out for him? You know how he is, innocent, no ulterior motives." "Is it no ulterior motives or no boundaries?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Her movements paused for a beat, but she forced a laugh. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing." I stood up, brushing the wrinkles from my pants. "I'm hungry. I'll wait for dinner." We ate together that night. She was more attentive than usual, serving me food, speaking in a soft, gentle voice, as if she was afraid of raising my suspicions. But the softer she became, the colder and calmer I felt. After dinner, while she was washing the dishes, I opened my phone and scrolled through Kyle's Instagram feed. I found a thank the chef photo. The timestamp was from the night before last at 9:38 p.m., a time when I was stuck in a client dinner, unable to even take a phone call. I kept scrolling. I saw that Sarah had liked the photo. She was one of the first. There were too many things that didn't add up. It was all too obvious. And this was only the beginning. Chapter 2. The sound of running water from the kitchen was a dull roar. I sat motionless in the living room, my eyes fixed on the wall clock. My heartbeat ticked in time with the second hand, pushing forward into a future that felt increasingly alien. This place felt more and more like their home, not mine. I saved the photo from Instagram, then went back to Kyle's profile and scrolled all the way to the bottom, meticulously reviewing the last few months of his posts. He'd been here far more often than I'd realized. Nearly every time I was on a business trip, a post would pop up with captions like, "Sarah's cooking is legendary. Her skills in the kitchen are insane," or "She made my favorite pasta again." The posts were filled with pictures taken in my living room, my kitchen, and my dining table, sometimes even on my balcony. And in all those photos, there wasn't a single trace of me, her husband. The next morning, right on cue, Kyle showed up. The doorbell rang, and Sarah had the door open before I could even get up from the table. "Hey, Sarah, last night's soup was amazing. I was hoping for another bowl." "Oh, hey, Ethan, you're back." Kyle was in workout clothes, his hair still damp, like he'd just come from the gym. I sat at the table, staring at him, and offered a faint smile. "When did you pick up a workout routine?" He ran a hand through his hair. "Just figured it was time to stop being a slob, you know?" Sarah said I was turning into a total bum, sitting around the house all day. Before he could finish, Sarah cut him off. "Don't put words in my mouth. I never said that." Kyle grinned mischievously. "You don't remember? That night you were telling me." "Shut up." Sarah's face hardened, her voice sharp. The atmosphere shifted instantly. I said nothing, just kept eating my breakfast. Kyle, realizing he'd said too much, gave a nervous laugh and sat down. The three of us ate in silence for 10 minutes. The clinking of forks against plates sounded like knives scraping against my eardrums. When I was done, I put down my fork. "Kyle, after you finish, come see me. I want to talk to you about something." He looked up surprised. "What's up? You keep saying you want to learn the business, right?" "Well, I have something I want you to start working on." His face lit up. "For real, man? You're finally going to let me do something serious?" "Yeah," I nodded. "But there's one condition." "What is it?" "You need to move out." The smile vanished from his face. "Come on, Ethan. I'm just crashing here for a bit." "What's the big deal?" "Rent in this city is insane, and Sarah doesn't mind." "I mind," I said, looking him straight in the eye, my tone unwavering. "You're 25, Kyle. Are you planning to live in my house until you're 30? His grin was gone, replaced by a look of unease. He scratched the back of his neck. "Ethan, did I do something? Is this about something?" I didn't answer. I just stood up. "There's an empty corporate apartment near the office. I'll have someone get it ready for you. You can move in tomorrow." "Ethan," he started to protest. I ignored him and walked into the bedroom. That evening, Sarah sat down next to me on the bed, her voice softer than usual. "Are you angry with Kyle? What do you think?" She fiddled with her fingers, looking down. "He just has a big mouth sometimes. He doesn't mean anything by it. You don't have to actually make him move into that corporate housing. You know those places are dumps. Plenty of my employees live there. You think your brother-in-law deserves special treatment?" Sarah bit her lip, pausing for a moment before replying. "He's not just anyone, Ethan. He's your brother." I met her gaze. "He's my brother, Sarah, not yours." She looked like she'd been slapped, her expression freezing for a second. "What is that supposed to mean?" "Stop using the 'we're all family' line as an excuse. He's my brother, not your blood relative," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "And you've been far too welcoming to him." Sarah shot to her feet, her own anger finally flaring. "So that's it. You think there's something going on between me and Kyle?" "Ethan, are you insane?" "I'm not insane," I said, my eyes locked on hers. "I'm just not blind." She stared at me, her jaw tight, and then a cold laugh escaped her lips. "Did you see something? Have you been spying on me behind my back?" I didn't say a word. Silence was its own admission. Suddenly, she threw her phone at me, and it bounced off my chest onto the bed. "Fine, go through it. Check everything. See if Kyle and I have been sneaking around. Check what time I eat dinner. Check how short my dresses are. Do you really think you're some kind of saint? My voice finally broke, rising in anger. You know damn well whether you have anything to feel guilty about. Her breath hitched, and the color drained from her face. I haven't done anything to betray you. For your sake, I hope you haven't. I stood up, my voice turning to ice. Starting today, I'm changing the locks. What are you talking about? I came home from a business trip to find the lock on my own front door had been changed, and not by me. So let me ask you one simple question. Did you add Kyle's fingerprint to the new system? Her lips trembled. Her eyes darted away. I knew it. I was right. A few days later, we had a company dinner. I made sure to bring Kyle. At the table, in front of everyone, I put on a smile. Starting now, Kyle is officially part of the team. I'm giving him his own project to manage. If he's got the drive, he can make it work. The table erupted in applause. Kyle, beaming with pride, stood up and gave a short speech, thanking me 3 times over. After the dinner wound down, I called him into my office. Sign this, I said, handing him a document. Standard new hire paperwork. You know the drill. He took it, giving it a quick glance. A non-disclosure agreement. I have to sign one of these. It's company policy. Everyone signs one. If you don't want to, you don't have to work here. He hesitated for a second, then scribbled his name and tossed it back on my desk. Don't worry, Ethan. I won't let you down. See that you don't, I said, taking the agreement. After he left, I locked the paper in my desk drawer. A small, cold smile touched my lips. If you really had a clear conscience, you wouldn't be afraid of a piece of paper. But I knew he was terrified. That night, I called an old friend from law school. I need to start gathering evidence for a divorce, I told him. Quietly. I can't let her know what I'm doing. Are you sure it's come to this? He asked. I thought for a moment. I'm not sure, but I have to know if I've been living a lie. Understood. I leaned back in my chair, staring out at the city lights. Kyle wasn't an idiot, and Sarah wasn't completely clueless. But they made one fatal mistake. They mistook my silence for weakness. You want to put on a show? Fine. I'll play along until the bitter end. Chapter 3. The night I installed the hidden cameras was the first night I slept soundly in weeks. It wasn't because I felt secure. It was because I was exhausted. It had been a long time since I'd had to watch the people closest to me with such intense focus, terrified of missing a single detail. The next morning, I pulled up the footage from the previous night. At 2:05 a.m., the indicator light on the front door's fingerprint scanner lit up. Kyle. He was wearing a gray sweatsuit and a baseball cap. He walked in like he owned the place, casually swapping his sneakers for slippers, shutting the door behind him, and heading straight for the bedroom. The crucial part, he didn't knock. The door just opened. That meant one of two things. Either Sarah was waiting up for him, or she never locked the bedroom door at night anymore. I fast-forwarded. Sarah emerged from the bedroom wearing a silk robe, her hair messy, a tired look on her face. But the moment she saw Kyle, her expression softened into a smile. It was the kind of relaxed, intimate smile reserved for a lover. She took a bag from his hands, and they went into the kitchen together. A few moments later, Kyle was leaning against the doorframe, watching her heat up food, the two of them talking and laughing. Later, they were sitting side by side on a couch. Kyle propped his feet up on the coffee table while Sarah brought him a plate of food and turned on the TV, scrolling to find a movie for him. I stared at the screen, my gaze turning to ice. The entire time, they acted completely at ease, with no hint of caution or fear of being discovered. It was clear this was their routine, a late-night ritual they'd become comfortable with. I didn't confront Sarah that night. I just went home as usual, ate dinner as usual, and even said, "We landed a new project at work today. I want to take everyone out to celebrate tomorrow. We should have Kyle come along." The fork in Sarah's hand paused midair. Okay, sure. She was becoming more and more anxious, her eyes constantly darting away from mine. She was afraid I knew something, but she didn't dare ask, and I didn't give her an opening. I wanted them to expose themselves. Over the next few days, I focused on 2 things. First, I went through Sarah's phone. It was locked, of course, but I tried a combination of her birthday and Kyle's. It opened on the 3rd try. I guess when you get this deep into an affair, you stop bothering with basic security. I didn't go straight for her text messages. I started with her DoorDash history. Over the past month, there were over 15 orders delivered to our address, but the account that placed them was Kyle's. The delivery times were all clustered between 7 and 10 p.m. The special instructions included notes like, "Hey Sarah, don't forget extra sauce," and "Go easy on the spice, don't want to upset your stomach." I took a screenshot of every single one. Next, I opened her calendar. She had an entry, movie tickets for Kyle. The date was last Friday night. The note attached said, "The one he's been dying to see." Last Friday was the first night of my business trip. I exited the app and checked her shared Uber history. There was a ride from his office to my condo, the time stamped down to the minute. It was like a web with threads from every direction tying them together. The second thing I did was start baiting Kyle into slipping up. At dinner one night, I casually mentioned, "That new girl in accounting is pretty cute. What do you think, Kyle? You interested?" Kyle, sipping his soup, laughed. "Nah, man, I wouldn't dare. Sarah is way better looking than she is." My gaze sharpened. "What did you say?" He immediately backpedaled, waving his hands. "I just mean, Sarah's a great person. Nobody compares, you know?" Sarah's fork froze again. Her head bowed, so low her hair almost touched her plate. The words sister-in-law were starting to sound like a threat. A few days later, at 2:30 in the morning, the camera sensor sent another alert to my phone. I quickly opened the feed. Kyle was back inside, empty-handed this time. He walked straight into the bedroom. Sarah was sitting up in bed, wearing a face mask. The moment Kyle entered, she said, "What are you doing here again?" "I missed you," he said with a grin, and flopped onto the bed next to her. His movements were far too natural. She muttered, "Don't be ridiculous," but she didn't move away. I didn't watch the rest. I shut my phone off and sat there in the darkness of my office, smoking one cigarette after another. The next morning, Sarah made breakfast as usual. I got up, showered, and acted as if nothing had happened. She handed me a cup of coffee. "Are you heading to the office today?" I nodded. "Big meeting. By the way, Kyle mentioned he wanted to shadow me on a client visit this morning, so I told him to ride with me." "Oh," she said, her eyes flickering with panic. I took the coffee, drank it in one gulp, and stood up with a smile. "Don't worry, he won't be coming to the house anymore. From now on, he'll be doing all his learning at the office." I looked at her. She didn't dare ask what I meant, just pretended to busy herself with clearing the dishes. That night, I sat alone in my study. I compiled all the screenshots, videos, location data, and food delivery receipts into a single folder. I put on a password-protected flash drive, right next to the non-disclosure agreement he had signed. That was my trump card. Chapter 4. It was 3 a.m. by the time I finished organizing all the files. 32 screenshots, 5 high-definition video clips, 6 Uber ride receipts, 11 DoorDash orders, and 1 signed NDA. It was enough to ruin Kyle completely, and more than enough for me to walk away clean. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the flash drive. They probably still thought I was completely in the dark. Good. A dog biting a man isn't a story. A man biting back. Now that's interesting. The next day, I went to work as usual. Kyle sat in the passenger seat, chattering away about some new movie he saw the night before. He made sure to add, "Sarah said she's been wanting to see that one forever, just hasn't had the time." I glanced over at him. "You two have been watching a lot of movies together lately?" He froze, then scratched his head with a nervous laugh. "Just now and then. I mean, you're not home, and I don't have much else to do." I didn't respond, just kept my eyes on the road, a cold, barely perceptible smile on my lips. "You don't care about boundaries. Fine, I'll show you just how sharp they can be." When we got to the office, I set him up with a dead-end project. He was a team of one. The office, the computer, the phone line, all of it was a front. It had only one purpose, to keep him under my watch. That afternoon, I called him in my office and handed him a file. "This is a small real estate development proposal. The budget and timeline are all laid out. Take a look. Make notes on anything you don't understand. I'll check your progress in a week." Kyle clutched the file, nodding enthusiastically. "You got it, Ethan. I'll work hard. You can count on me. You know the company has strict policies. You signed the NDA, right?" "Signed it," he said, patting his chest. "I'll do whatever you say." I leaned back, a placid smile on my face. "Then don't disappoint me." Kyle seemed a little confused by my tone, but still nodded with a grin. "I won't." I watched him walk out, my expression hardening. "If you want to keep up the act, you'd better not break character." When I got home that evening, Sarah had already made dinner. The spread was more elaborate than usual. and she'd even lit a scented candle on the table. She was wearing the silk nightgown I'd bought her, with light makeup and her hair down. She looked the part of a gentle, caring wife. "Tough day at the office?" she asked, ladling soup into my bowl. "It was fine," I said, glancing at the table. "What's the special occasion?" She bit her lip and said softly, "Have I done something wrong?" "Do you think you've done something wrong?" She froze, then looked down silent. I stared at her for a few seconds before changing the subject. "Kyle mentioned you two have been watching a lot of movies together." Her mouth twitched into a dry smile. "Don't listen to him. It wasn't a lot. Just once." "Once?" "Yeah, just that one night. I'd finished dinner, and he was still here. I said there was a movie I wanted to see, so we put it on. That's all." I held her gaze, asking slowly, "What time did you finish?" The question caught her off guard. Her eyes darted around the room. "I didn't check the time." "You really didn't check?" "I fell asleep," she said, her words suddenly rushing out. "The movie was playing, and I just dozed off on the couch. He left after it was over. I was so surprised when I woke up the next morning. I was even mad at him for not waking me." I nodded, letting it drop. She visibly relaxed, thinking I'd bought it. After dinner, she eagerly showed me the new curtains she'd hung, then mentioned she'd bought a new body wash and that I should try it. I went along with it, stepping into the shower. Standing under the hot water, I felt nothing. I knew she was trying to make amends, maybe even considering turning back. The problem was she'd already crossed the line. When I came out, she handed me a dry towel. "I'll make you oatmeal tomorrow morning. I know you're always saying the breakfast from that deli is too greasy." As I dried my hair, I said casually, "Didn't you used to sleep until 10? She looked down. "I'm not going to anymore. I want to spend more time with you." I looked at her. "Do you know when you're most convincing as a good wife?" Her eyes flickered with uncertainty. When you're lying?" Her expression froze, but she forced a smile. "Are you suspecting me of something?" "I don't suspect anyone," I said, turning to walk into the bedroom. "I only trust evidence." She stood in the doorway, not daring to say another word. Late that night, I got a text from a friend. "Kyle has been hitting up that high-end lounge on the east side. He's been putting it all on your company's backup card. I thought you gave him a cash stipend. Why does he have a company card?" A rock sank in my stomach. I hadn't given him a backup card, but he could have stolen one from the office. I immediately called the head of accounting and told her to check the last month's expenses. An hour later, she called back. "Kyle made 5 charges on a backup card. The total is over $4,000. 3 of the charges are from upscale establishments on the east side." I nodded slowly, a grim smile forming. "Excellent. Some people just have to drive full speed into a brick wall." The next day, I went to work and put the printed expense reports in my drawer. Around noon, I called Kyle into my office and handed him a bottle of water. "Here, have a seat." "What's up, Ethan?" He looked a little nervous. I tapped the surface of my desk. "Let me just ask you one question. Do you think I'm a pushover?" Kyle's face paled. "What are you talking about?" I threw the expense reports in front of him. "What did you use the backup card for?" He picked up the papers, his face turning ashen, his lips trembling. "Ethan, I was just going to borrow it. I was going to pay it back, I swear." "Borrow it? Is spending $4,000 at a VIP lounge part of your business training?" "Ethan, listen to me. It wasn't on purpose. You signed an NDA. I could have you charged with corporate embezzlement right now." Real fear finally appeared on Kyle's face. "Ethan, I'm sorry. I messed up. I'm begging you. Please don't tell Mom and Dad." I stared at him, my voice colder than I'd ever heard it. "Do you think this is a game to me?" His lips trembled as he nodded. "I'll change. I promise I'll change. From this day forward, you're not to set foot in my house again. If you step through that door one more time, I will call the police." He looked stunned. "Ethan, Did you not understand me?" I stood up, my gaze like a blade. "You two are playing with fire. Don't make me be the one to put it out. Because when I do, you won't even have a chance to feel regret." Kyle hung his head, his face a mask of gray defeat. I didn't say another word. He still wanted to act. So I would be the director and let him see this tragedy through to the end. This play was far from over. Chapter 5. When Kyle left my office, his face was ashen. I didn't try to stop him. I didn't even give him a second glance. "You want to play the innocent victim? Fine. I'll show you what real consequences look like." That night, I deliberately acted calm and normal at home. When Sarah saw me, she brought over a bowl of hot soup. "Home so early? Kyle said you've been really busy lately." I took the soup, giving her a flat look. I am busy, but no matter how busy I get, I have to make time for the important things. She forced a smile. Well, that's good. I finished the soup in silence, then set the bowl down. By the way, I have to go on another business trip tomorrow. For 3 days. She flinched, but a flash of relief in her eyes didn't escape my notice. Oh, well, make sure you get some rest. I will, I said with a small smile. You try not to stay up too late while I'm gone. She looked down. I know. The next afternoon, I met up with a friend who works as a private investigator. We rented a small room in a building across the street, with a window that had a perfect line of sight into my living room balcony. The cameras inside my condo were already set up. This was just an extra pair of eyes. At 8 p.m., I left the house, drove my car out to the suburbs, and sent my location from a burner phone to an unknown number. It was all part of the illusion that I was out of town. At 9:30, my friend sent a text. He's here. I opened the live video feed. Kyle was walking into my condo, carrying a bag, using his fingerprint to unlock the door with practiced ease. Less than 2 minutes later, Sarah came out of the bedroom. She was wearing a loose t-shirt and shorts, her hair still damp. She'd clearly just showered. Kyle smiled and placed the bag on the coffee table. Got that dessert you like? Sarah took it, her voice soft. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to. I missed you. Watching the video, the corner of my mouth slowly curled into a smile. 10 minutes later, they were sitting shoulder to shoulder on the couch, laughing at something on TV. Kyle put his arm around her. She gave a half-hearted push, then leaned into his embrace. 30 minutes later, the lights went out. The next morning, I was waiting for them outside the front door. The moment Kyle opened it and saw me, his face went rigid. The bag of trash he was holding slipped from his fingers and fell to the floor. Sarah, standing behind him, froze. I thought you were on a business trip. I smiled. It was canceled last minute. Silence. I bent down, picked up the trash bag, and tossed it into the kitchen. Are you two free tonight? I asked calmly. I'm having some people over. Sarah frowned. Who? Family, I said. All of them. By 6 p.m., my parents and a few aunts and uncles had arrived. Kyle sat hunched in a corner of the sofa, staring at the floor. Sarah was in the kitchen, her smile plastered on and painfully stiff. Once everyone was there, I turned on the living room TV and plugged in a flash drive. The screen lit up. The timestamp read 9:42 p.m. last night. Kyle, entering. Sarah greeting him. The dessert. The arm around her shoulder. The lights going out. The entire sequence played out in crystal clear video, so clear you could practically hear them breathing. Oh my God, one of my aunts whispered, covering her mouth. My parents' faces had turned black with rage. My mother slapped her thigh. Kyle, what have you done? Kyle scrambled to his feet, trembling. Ethan, it's not what you think. Not what I think. I shot back with a cold laugh. You sneak into my house in the middle of the night, you hold my wife while you watch TV, and then you turn out the lights and stay for an hour. If it's not what I think, then what is it? Sarah's face was chalk white. Ethan, I can explain. I held up a hand to cut her off. Explain? Are you going to explain why his fingerprint opens my front door? Are you going to explain why you were fresh out of the shower, waiting to greet him? Or are you going to explain the two of you wrapped around each other? Her lips trembled, but no words came out. My father slammed his hand on the table. You have brought shame on this entire family. The relatives started murmuring among themselves, some sighing, others sneering. Kyle finally found his voice, panicked. Ethan, I'd had a few drinks. I wasn't thinking straight. A few drinks gives you the right to enter my bedroom? I stared him down. Maybe you should have a few more and just take my bed while you're at it. His face flushed a deep red, and he hung his head. I picked up another document from the coffee table and slapped it down. Since everyone is here, we might as well get everything out in the open. This is a record from the company's accounts. Kyle charged over $4,000 to a backup corporate card. 3 of those charges from a VIP lounge. You signed an NDA, Kyle. Do you know what that means? My parents stared at him in disbelief. You stole money from the company, too? I was just borrowing it. Borrowing? I scoffed. Did you have any intention of paying it back? Since you enjoy spending money so much, you can figure out how to pay this back yourself. Kyle's face completely crumbled. Sarah suddenly spoke up. Ethan, don't be so cruel. Kyle is your brother. I whipped my head around to face her. Do you think I'm being cruel Or do you think I'm stupid? My gaze was so intense, she took a step back. I walked toward her, my steps measured and heavy. Did you two have fun playing these games right under my nose? Did you think that just because I was busy making a living, I wouldn't have time to see what you were up to? Her lips trembled. I was just lonely? Just made a little mistake? I cut her off, my voice like ice. Sarah, you need to remember something. Some mistakes only need to be made once to cost you everything. I turned to my parents, my tone level. From this day forward, Kyle is no longer my problem. His work, his life, I'm done. He can pay back the money he owes himself. And Sarah, we're getting a divorce. You will leave with nothing. The room was utterly silent. Kyle kept his head down, unable to look at me. Sarah just stood there, pale as a ghost, tears streaming down her face. I looked around at my shocked relatives and said coolly, "That's all for tonight. You can all go home now." With that, I turned and walked upstairs without looking back. Behind me, I could hear the chaos finally erupt. But my steps were steady. This was just the first wave. They were about to learn what it truly means to lose. Chapter 6. The air in the living room was frigid. My parents' faces were grim. The relatives were silent. Sarah was sobbing into her hands, and Kyle looked like a man on death row. I walked slowly back down the stairs and placed my phone on the coffee table, the screen facing them. Since everyone's here, we might as well get the whole story out, I said, my voice as calm as if I were closing a business deal. I opened my photo gallery and pulled up several screenshots of bank transfers. This is money Sarah transferred from my business account to her family. A total of $87,000. The reason she gave was a family emergency. Sarah looked up, her face a mess of tears. Ethan, that was for my cousin. He lost his job. I just wanted to help him. Help him? I stared at her. You helped him by giving him a no-show job at my company, where he collected a salary and bonuses for a year and a half, totaling nearly $150,000, without ever once stepping foot in the office. Is that helping him, or is that helping your family bleed me dry? Her lips quivered. She tried to form a response, but I cut her off again. Did you think I was too busy to notice? I had our accountant flag your transfers months ago. I know about every single dollar. My father's face was dark with fury. He turned on Sarah. Have you no shame? Did we welcome you into this family so you could pick my son's bones clean? My mother, shaking with anger, pointed a finger at Kyle. And your brother give you an opportunity, and you steal from his company and pull this disgusting stunt. Kyle's head snapped up. I didn't steal. I was just borrowing. I interrupted with a sneer. Should I borrow your social security number and see how much I can get from a loan shark? He was silenced. I sat back down on the sofa, pulled a set of divorce papers from my briefcase, and tossed them in front of Sarah. I've already signed them. You leave with nothing. Pack your things and get out today. Sarah stared at the papers, stunned. Ethan, we've been together for 5 years. You're throwing it all away over this. I laughed, a cold, empty sound. 5 years? Did you think about those 5 years when you were in my brother's arms? Her tears flowed freely. I wasn't thinking clearly. People who don't think clearly don't deserve a place in my life, I said, pointing to the door. Get packing. The relatives exchanged uneasy glances. Someone muttered, "This has gotten out of hand." I turned to the person who spoke. Out of hand? I wanted it to be out of hand. I want everyone to see that Ethan Cole's home is not a place you can just walk into and disrespect. Kyle, his jaw clenched, seemed to be searching for one last offense. Ethan, no matter what, I'm your brother. Can't you just... I cut him off, throwing another printed document on the table. These are the itemized receipts from the lounge you went to. You signed for them on the company card. I have photos. I have security footage. Do you want me to forward all of this to the police? His face went pale, and beads of sweat formed on his forehead. My father roared, "Get out of my sight. From now on, you find your own place to live. If you ever set foot in Ethan's company again, I'll swear I never had a son." My mother was trembling. You destroyed your brother's home. You hurt his company. Are you trying to tear this family apart? Kyle couldn't even lift his head. Sarah reached for him, but he violently shook her off. "Don't touch me." They looked at each other with pure hatred. No longer partners in crime, but liabilities. I stood up and surveyed the room. Consider today's events my final courtesy to all of you. From now on, don't tell anyone you're related to me. And don't you dare call yourself my ex-wife. I don't want to hear your names ever again. With that, I turned and went upstairs. As I reached the landing, I heard my mother whisper to my father, I always knew there was something off about that woman. My father sighed. We just trusted her too much. 30 minutes later, I heard the front door close. I looked out the bedroom window. Kyle was walking down the street, carrying a duffel bag. Sarah trailed behind him, holding nothing but her purse. They didn't look at each other. They were like strangers. A small smile touched my lips. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Chapter 7, 3 days after I kicked them out. The story had already ripped through our entire circle of family and friends. Some said Sarah was a cheating wife. Others said Kyle was a greedy, shameless leech. A few whispered that the two of them deserved each other. I offered no explanations and no denials. I was content to let them drown in the mess they had made. A week later, I heard through the grapevine at work that Sarah had moved into Kyle's small rental apartment. I wasn't surprised. Two outcasts with nowhere else to go would naturally cling to each other. But they forgot one crucial thing. When self-interest is the only thing holding you together, the alliance is bound to shatter. Sure enough, it wasn't long before a friend sent me a photo from a nightclub. Kyle, with his arms around some woman in heavy makeup, kissing her like his life depended on it. When Sarah found out, she stormed into the lobby of the building where Kyle had found a dead-end job and caused a massive scene, screaming about his drinking and cheating for everyone to hear. Kyle fired right back. Weren't you only with me because you thought I had money? Now that I'm broke, you got a problem with me. Sarah threw her purse at him, her voice shrill. You're a loser. You'll never be half the man your brother is. Everyone watching them fight just laughed. They finally saw the so-called love affair for what it was, a pathetic transaction. Meanwhile, my life became calmer and clearer than it had been in years. With the drama gone, my work thrived. I even found time to start going to the gym and attend a few industry networking events. At one of them, I ran into Megan Carter, my company's HR manager. She stepped in to help me fend off an overly persistent client and smiled. I always thought you were the quiet type, but now I'm realizing you just don't waste words on things that don't matter. I smiled back. Sometimes, what you don't say is more powerful than what you do. She paused for a moment, then her smile widened. It was a clean, bright smile. I wasn't looking to start anything new, but I knew one thing for sure. My life was moving on and moving up. Sarah's, on the other hand, was in a free fall. She had left the marriage with nothing. Her family, who had hoped she would just find another wealthy man to support them, quickly discovered that her reputation was garbage. One day, she cornered me outside my office building, crying, Ethan, I was wrong. Please, can you just give me one more chance? I looked at her, my expression unreadable. Do you honestly think the man I am today would ever look back at you? She bit her lip, wanting to say more, but the words died on her tongue. Kyle's fate was even worse. After the story about the lounge expenses got out, no legitimate company would touch him. He ended up working for some shady collections agency. Less than 2 months in, his new partner set him up. They sent him to collect on a debt using forged documents, and he was arrested on the spot. My parents refused to post his bail. He called me from jail, begging for help. I only said one thing. The night you walked into my bedroom, you burned every last bridge between us. There was a long silence on the other end of the line, followed by a low, hollow laugh. You win, Ethan. You win. Late that night, I sat alone on my balcony, watching the city lights glitter below. The truth was, I had planned for all of this. That business trip was a calculated move, a long rope I gave them to see if they would hang themselves with it. As I suspected, their lack of self-control was even greater than I'd imagined. Collecting the evidence, setting up the surveillance, consulting my lawyer, even their miserable downfall was a part of my design. I didn't expose them right away because I knew the most effective revenge isn't a swift blow. It's letting your enemies walk their own path to ruin. A month later, a letter from Sarah arrived in my mail. It contained only 2 words. You won. I smiled, tore the letter into tiny pieces, and let them scatter into the night air. I thought of Kyle, of Sarah, of that picture on Instagram. My voice was low and clear, spoken only to the silent city. Next time you touch what's mine, you should probably ask me for permission first. The city lights illuminated my calm face. The night, for the first time in a long time, was completely peaceful.